So one of the things that we're going to talk about on the LokRing is the proper use of the LokRing. We're going to talk about the maintenance on the HMRK V tool, or the V stands for 5, so it's an HMRK 5. And then we're going to talk about the pre-assembly tool, how you fix it together, and then we're gonna go through the presentation there. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and I really hope that you get a lot out of this class. I will tell you that this is kind of just to get your taster set. About every 2 to 3 months, there is a LokRing class that is a 4-day class, and that is taught usually in one of two places. One of them is at the Encompass facility there in I wanted to say Cleveland, and that's not right. It's north of Atlanta, so that's one of the facilities, and the other one is the facility that's down in Hollywood, Florida, or somewhere around Tampa. There also, if you're interested, you can contact Vulcan LokRing and get their schedule. Because I'm telling you, if you're gonna do anything with R-600, please don't use a torch. I have seen too many people get really hurt. One of the guys that was in Texas, whenever I did my LokRing class in Texas, he was a brand new technician. And he had a shop technician that didn't pay any attention that it was R-600, and took a torch to it and burned their facility down. You can't do that with R-600. Okay, even if you think you have it evacuated, the problem is with R-600, it gets into the oil just like 134A did. But R-600 is highly flammable. Unlike that, Joseph, no, we don't. I'm actually in Troy, Alabama. I'm at my parents', and no, we don't have a facility in Alabama. But there is, like I said, there is that one it's in Lawrenceville, Georgia. So it's basically from my house into, which is Troy, to that facility is about 3.5 hours. So it's not that bad. We're looking at putting together some training for LokRing. And one of the things you can do, Joseph, is if you can get about 5 or 6 people together. If you'll look at the bottom of the screen here, Reggie Williams' information is going across the screen. If you'll contact him, he can tell you what the cost is. They do charge for the LokRing class. It is 4 days, because they also teach brush ups on torches. So Joseph, where in Alabama are you located? And then we're gonna go ahead and get started, and I'll watch for you, Joseph, for you to reply. Like I said, we're gonna start to the repair of the repair with LokRing. Okay, here's a typical refrigerator. You can see the technician here. Opelika. Okay. Yeah, if you can, I know exactly where Opelika is because I go through Opelika on my way up to Lawrenceville. So it'll be about, because you're about an hour from me, so it'll be about a 2.5 hour for you. I would tell you to get in touch with Reggie. He can get you that information and let you know everything. So that'd be a good thing for you. Excuse me. You guys are going to have to pardon me. I don't know about anybody else, but it's been raining here for almost 2 days now. We got about 2.5 inches yesterday, and we're on our way to be having another 2 inches. So I'm a little stopped up and a little stuffy. Okay, so the content here. How to repair a refrigerator with LokRing. Okay, some of the advantages that we have. You don't have a whole lot of tools to take in with you. Usually, you can take in a small case, your part. If it's a compressor, that's always a little more weight. But if I'm just having to replace, let's say I'm replacing the filter dryer, or I'm replacing a filter dryer because there was a leak in the evaporator. I can do all of that with LokRing, and I actually had a technician ask me some information about the LokRing, because he was like, well, these LokRing leaks. Well, actually, if you put the right size connector on, there are multi connectors that go there. If I use if I use the proper connector, the other thing that you have to be very careful of, the lock prep is only good for 1 year. And I realize, it's a year. If I'm not using it every day, you have to make sure that you are looking at the date on your lock prep, because if you're not looking at the date on it and you use it and it's bad, it will leak. So, that one of the advantages though is I can catch that and I can fix that, and I'm not starting all over again. I can just cut that little bit out and put it back together. And, I do it with a set of colors, and I don't have to unsweat it and worry about getting the joint back proper the way that it should be. Let's talk about the areas of application. One of the things that really impressed me was I can use this on anywhere. Okay. I can actually go into the evaporator, and if I can cut the evaporator piece out that has the leak, I can put that. I can now not have to have a total evaporator. I can just cut it out, use my LokRing and lock prep and put it back together, and I'm good. Functional principles, we're going to go through those. Like I said, repair possibilities, anything with a seal system for what we use it for is a possibility. Technical specification, we're going to go through that. We're going to talk about the laboratory testing that they do, the assembly tools, the lock prep, the assembly instructions, the customer support, and then we're going to finish up with the conclusion. After that, we're going to go do some maintenance information to this HMRK5 maintenance tool. We need to keep it maintained, and then we're going to talk about the pre-assembly. Okay, so some of the advantages versus the brazing. Okay, it's suitable for flammable refrigerants. Um, it's also customer friendly, on-site service with a reduced logistics cost. Okay, clean, fast, and reliable. Assembly possible with high combustion areas, even with heavy foot traffic or during business operations. Simple assembly without a power connection. No heat or brazing equipment that is required, and then no heat related problems. Okay, so here's a, you know what? Let's go back just a little bit. I want to go back. So it's suitable for flammable refrigerants. We are going to, where we're headed is 600, 290. They're flammable refrigerants. We've gone back to a flammable refrigerant from an HFC or a CFC. We've got to. That's where we're headed. So we need to take care of ourselves and the customer. Okay. The first thing that I'll tell you as an old technician, and I own my own company for several years, is you need to protect yourself, your company, and the customer's property. Okay. Always take a if I'm going to bring my tool pouch in or my toolbox or whatever I'm taking, I take a mat to put it on. Maybe it's a towel, but it's a mat, something to insulate itself from the floor. I've had too many technicians go out and scratch a customer's floor, and then it costs them thousands of dollars to fix it. Okay, always take care of the customer's house like you would your own. That includes, if I see something as I walk in, I make a note of it and I call it out to the customer. Okay, I always make sure that the customer is well aware of it. And whenever I get, if I'm using a paper ticket, I write it on the paper ticket. If I'm using if I have a ticket that I have that I'm going to that's electronic, I'm going to note it on my electronic ticket, and I'm going to have that customer initial. Okay. There's nothing worse than you getting all the way done and the customer going, "Hey, that wasn't here. That wasn't there whenever you got here." And you know that it was. We have to be very careful for our company, ourselves, and the customer. Okay. Whenever I was looking at it and I realized just how close we were to Christmas, one of the things that I was going to say was, hey, did everybody get their stuff, their list for Santa? One of the things that you're going to need with LokRing is you got to have the correct fire extinguisher. You need a fan. You need the LokRing kit. There's a whole lot that you have to have, and none of that is cheap. An air sled would help you to help to remove the refrigerator out of the way, or any other thing that has the refrigerant in it. Okay, could be a freezer, could be almost anything. Yes, most definitely, Joseph. I had a technician. I'm going to touch on exactly what you're talking about, Joseph. I had a technician that removed his shoes because the customer said that they were not allowed in their home. Well, that is an OSHA violation, just so you know. If you're in a customer's home, you've got to have on a pair of shoes. That's an OSHA violation if you don't. Tell her that you're more than happy to go ahead and put on a pair of booties. All of my technicians, whenever I had my own company, that was something that they had in their truck. And we had an inspection about once a month. just for that incidental stuff that nobody thinks about. Because once again, I'm protecting myself, the customer, and the company. Okay, but you're exactly right on that, Joseph. You have got to have on shoes, and you probably want to have a footy on your shoes so that you don't track anything into the customer's house. And if I have to go back out, I have to take my booties off, and then whenever I come back in, I put them back on. I told my guys whenever I had my own company, I'll take the heat for a customer. If the customer tells you, excuse me, if the customer tells you you got to come in without your shoes on, and you tell them, I'm sorry, ma'am, it's an OSHA violation. I can't do that. I told my technicians, don't waste any time. Don't waste any of the time. You go ahead and just tell the customer that they need to call the office. I'll take care of it. Okay. We do not hurt. The worst thing that you could do is drop something on your foot. Okay. And then you're out for a week. I don't know about your boss, but the owner of the company probably is not going to want to pay for your time off because you did something that you were told not to do. But let's get back to no brazing quality issues. We're going to go through that. The next slide is going to start to deal with some of that. So if you look right here, if you look at the brazing instrument, see as the joint is there. This doesn't even really look like a true joint. I'm not even sure that they had any. I don't think they had enough. Excuse me. They doesn't look like it to me. I've never seen hardly a joint that good, even from the factory on the brazing side. There's always a little more solder that just flows out. And you can always clean it up, and I know that, but nobody ever does that. So, but if you look at the LokRing, okay, look how small, how neat and clean that is. And if I'm not getting any leaks from this, why would I not use it? Because I don't want to have to be dragging my torch. I mean, even if I am just using an acetylene torch and not an oxygen acetylene torch, I still have the torch, the wrap of what's the word I'm looking for? The wrap that the line wrap, and then I have the torch head itself, and then I've got to carry all my other tools in there with me. Whenever if I have LokRing, I've got it all in one kit. The new LokRing kit is about half the size of the old LokRing kit. I actually, whenever they've dropped the price, one of the reasons that the price has dropped is because of the case that it comes in. The case used to be you could use it, you could travel with it on a plane and it not get damaged. I carry, whenever I used to come from Minnesota back down to Georgia and hunt, I had a case that I carried, and it was the same Armalite type case that the LokRing kit came in. They cut that down, and it's now it's more of a soft case, and it cut the price down, and it's really a whole lot less, a whole lot more affordable. Okay, so let's talk about the areas of application that we have. Okay. I mean, like if you look right here on the other side, you can see some of the areas that they have. We're going to go more into this. Okay. endless possibilities with your areas of application. Your household refrigeration appliances, freezers, and your wine coolers. You can use it all for that. My wine cooler and my freezer are both 134A. My refrigerator is an R-600 refrigerator because I had to get rid of my R-134A refrigerator. So I definitely had to have a LokRing kit, and that is something that will set you back about $1,200. It's down now. So if you want to know the prices of the LokRing kit itself, you can get with Reggie. Reggie is more than happy to help you out and get you a LokRing kit either ordered, send you all the information on it. You can also can it be used on standalone ice makers? Yes, you can. Yes, it can. So you can use it on ready refrigeration equipment, your refrigerators, your cabinets, your bars, your lockers, your chillers, all of that. Okay. Refrigeration equipment, counter cells, flow-through coolers, portable cooling systems. The functional principle of the LokRing connection. So if you look right here, there is a 1, 2, and 3. That is how the LokRing works. Okay, the lock prep is there in the joint, and then we're going to go and talk about the lock prep a whole lot more. You have 2 rings. That's the number 2, and then the number 3 is the I'm sorry, number 3 is the lock prep. Number 1 is the joint itself. My fault. Okay, so the areas of connection principle. If you look, whenever you first start and you're joining the two ends together, okay, you're going to have, and I don't have a sample anymore. I gave my sample away. So we have the insertion area. Okay, then I have a stabilization. If I could say that, I'd be in good shape. A stabilization and sealing area, and then our main sealing area. Okay. So whenever I first put it together, I'm pushing these 2 ends into this insertion area. I'm going to push it all the way through till it stops. Whenever I do that, I'm going to rotate it at a 360 degrees. I always do it twice instead of only doing 360. I do it twice to make sure that I get it well spread all the way around. And then I've got my stabilization area, which is the B. So as long as I'm putting the right amount of lock prep on, I should never have any problems. Okay. So the repair possibilities with LokRing. So I can replace the compressor. I can replace the dryer. I can replace the charging tube. And I can repair leaky brazed connections. Okay. I want to bring this up to you. If you look right on the very the process stub there, they make a tool that you can actually, how many times have you gotten out to the house, you didn't pre-check the compressor, you get there and the compressor is bent. Either the suction line, the process stub, something's bent. Okay, LokRing has a repair kit so that you can, it takes you a little bit longer. Usually you can repair something with LokRing in about just under about 60 to 80 minutes. Okay. So here's our material compositions. You look at it, if we have a copper to copper joint, okay, we're going to use the brass fitting. Okay. If we have a copper to steel, we're going to use the brass fitting also. If we're going to go steel to steel, we're also going to use the brass fitting. Okay. If we have aluminum to aluminum, we're going to have the aluminum fitting. If we have aluminum to copper, we're going to use the aluminum fitting still. We have aluminum to steel, we're also going to use the aluminum fitting. Okay. So here's your kit. It looks it's really has everything that you need. It has your hand assembly tool. It has your assembly jaws, your lock prep, your sandpaper, your dryers, your straight connectors, your straight reducing connectors. It's got all that in this kit. Okay. So our dryer section repair, if you look right here, you can look at the liquid line. As you can tell, we've got a copper to steel, which is number 1. So that would be our brass fitting. If we have a dryer to a capillary tube, we also use that same brass fitting. But if you notice this one on the capillary tube, this one you can just use. They have a capillary tube that's a copper to copper. You can certainly use that because you don't have to have this aluminum fitting, unless the capillary tube is aluminum. Then I have to go back to my aluminum fitting, which is what we had on the other slide. Okay, so the filter dryer possibilities, specially designed for the LokRing application. It's for all HC and HFC refrigerants. Protects the refrigeration circuit against moisture, acids, and dirt particles. It's decadent. It's the same as it's always been. Okay. The one thing about the LokRing is they do have the dryer that has the hub on it so that you can charge it through the filter dryer. So here is a capillary tube. Once again, we have an aluminum tube. So we use the aluminum fitting. So we would use even though it's copper, the capillary tube is copper. We're going to use that aluminum fitting because we have an aluminum fitting. This is what I'm talking about. If you use the wrong fitting, yes, it will leak. These things are rigorously tested. We're going to get through that as we get onto into the program. Okay, but these things are rigorously tested. If you do the right thing and do it at the right way, you should never have any problems. Now, I will tell you, if I'm joining aluminum to aluminum, I have to be a little bit more careful. Okay. So this right here is your condenser section. My back plate condenser, which is your liquid line. My hot gas line, which is I'm going to use that steel to copper fitting, which is a brass fitting. If I'm going to do steel to steel, I can always still use my brass fitting. Okay, so the charging tube stopper, we're gonna go through that in just a little bit. Now the charging tube with a 1/2 inch, quarter-inch Schrader valve, that's actually on most of the lines for the filter dryer. So it makes it easier. Okay. My compression, my hot gas, It's all good. I get once again, I'm using a brass fitting because I'm copper to copper. If I go copper to copper here that has the suction line, and I want to use this connector, I certainly can use this connector. I will say that if I'm going to do that, I am probably going to put a drop of lock prep on the screw cap area and tighten that bad boy down, and I should never have any problems. Okay. We're going to talk about the technical specifications now. Okay. What our appliance technicians use, whatever we use, it's called type 00. Okay. So these are all the people that have the approval, that have done the reapprovals and the standards. You can look at it at admissible refrigerants, HFC, HC. It's not suitable for nitrogen. Temperature range is minus 58 degrees Fahrenheit up to 302 degrees Fahrenheit. The tube diameter, of course, is 1/16 to a 3/8. Okay, minimum wall thickness is 0.5 millimeters. Okay, so it's just under a 1/16. Okay, so let's talk about our laboratory testing. Okay, like I said, these are rigorously tested. They are continuously testing these. I'm going to stop here for just a second. Does anybody have any questions? We've kind of ran right through it because I've got so much more to bring you. I want to make sure that if you have any questions, that I can answer them. And if I don't know the answer, because I don't know it all, I will find an answer for you and I will get back to you. Okay, we're going to keep rolling. So the unique laboratory tests for performance tests are in accordance with ISO 14903 is available in Germany. They check it for a tightness test before they do the load test. They do a fatigue test. They do a freezing test. They do a vibration test. They do a pressure temperature cycle test. They do a vacuum test. They do a pressure test that's a static pressure. Then they follow it all back up and they double check the tightness after all the load tests. Okay, so they take 14 samples to do the test. So there's 14 samples that are all laid in this one thing. Okay, and then you're going to see it here in just a little bit. So before starting the test, the following parameters need to be defined: maximum temperature, minimum temperature, maximum operating pressure. Okay, so the tightness test, what do they use? I find it humorous that they use helium. Okay, so you hope it don't leak. You hope that it doesn't leak, because we'll all be in there talking like Goofy, or one of the mice. The temperature test, 68 degrees Fahrenheit. The pressure test, 145 psi. Maximum leakage, look at that, 7.5 times 10 to the minus 8 millibar. I mean, that is no leakage at all. That would take you years for you to find it. Okay, they do 250,000 cycles in between the maximum operating pressure and the atmospheric pressure. So we had already talked about the maximum operating temperature, and then it bring it back down to the atmospheric pressure. Okay. If you look right here, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are in this group right here. Normally it's 12 like it said before. Okay. So test 1, we're going to do sample test is submerged in a container underwater. The pressure above the water surface is reduced to below 500 millibars, which is 7.25 psi. They do that for 10 minutes. The trapped air dispenses from all the cavities while restoring the normal ambient air pressure. The cavities will fill up with water. Step number 2, the test cycles are placed in the freezer for at least 30 minutes with a maximum of 5 degrees Fahrenheit. The test samples are placed into water at room temperature to thaw for 5 minutes. So they're doing the freeze, the thaw, the freeze, the thaw, so that you make sure that after we get done, they don't have any leaks. Okay. Then they do the vibration test. They do 2 million load cycles. Well, the frequency C is up to 200 hertz. The amplitude depends on the size of the connection. Okay. So now we do the pressure temperature test. Okay. We're going to step 1, we're going to do 50 cycles of this. We're going to alternate the temperature between the minimum temperature and the maximum temperature. When the maximum temperature is reached, the test samples will be inflated to maximum operating pressure for 2 minutes. Then the step 2, the maximum temperature is held. The pressure alternates between the atmospheric pressure and the maximum operating pressure. So we have literally, we have the gas trying to escape with all of these, with the fitting, so that we make sure that we don't have any leaks. This is the test cycles that we use. Okay, the vacuum test is for exactly an hour. That's 68 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's the maximum pressure rise can only be 0.2 kPAs. Okay. The pressure test, the static pressure test that we had talked about, they do it for a minute. The test is 5 times the maximum operating pressure, or the theoretical maximum load of the tube. I'm going to show you a picture right here. If it's done properly, the copper will actually fail before the LokRing connection will fail. Okay, the tightness test after the load test. Once again, they use helium gas. The pressure is at 68 degrees Fahrenheit. The pressure difference is 145 psi. The maximum leakage rate again is 7.5 times 10 to the minus 8 millibar. Okay, that is super small. All right, now we're going to talk about the assembly tools. Okay, this is the HMRK5. Okay, it's specifically designed for the LokRing assembly. It's patented lever action mechanism for the assembly with a minimum effort. Okay. Assembly jaws are easy to change for different tube diameters. Most of the time, you're not going to have to change your tube diameter, the jaw of the assembly tool. But if you're getting into a 3/8, you're going to need to change that. Okay. Both the handles bend for the use in the hard to reach areas, and it's patented under German technology. So I have used this. This is how I got certified, was with this HMRK5 tool. They make a new tool that will put this one to shame. The problem is it's a whole lot more. I still have my HMRK5 tool that I use if I'm going to have to use it. If I train you, you're gonna have to be trained on this, because it's no fun to use the new tool. It's a no-brainer. We're going to talk about it in just a little bit later on. Okay, the assembly jaws. It's suitable for the LokRing HMRK5 and the HMRK L hand assembly tools. So double-sided assembly of the LokRing Type 00 connections. The M8 for tube outer diameters, which is 1.6 to 8.5 millimeters, which is 1/16 to 5/16. Okay. If I have a tube that is larger, which is the 3/8, I'm going to have to change the jaws. The jaws come in the set. Okay. Lock prep. This is what I told you. If you're using your lock prep properly, you got number one, it has got to be a 65G lock prep. If you look at this label on lock prep, at the very bottom it says LokRing Vulcan LokRing. Then there's two little things that are written in. Whenever you look at that, there is a sticker that is put into your lock prep. It will give you the expiration date. If I do not have the expiration date, or it has already expired, I am going to not use that lock prep. I can't guarantee that this 65G lock prep is going to be any good. And the last thing I want to do is waste a fitting and all my time. Okay. So what exactly does lock prep do? Okay, I'm gonna go through these, and then I'm gonna tell you exactly what it does. Okay, it compensates for any unevenness in the tube surface, hardens under oxidation in contact with free metal ions. It stays elastic. It ensures that every LokRing connection is hermetically sealed. So the first thing that I have to do is I have to sand. Okay, if you look at a piece of tubing after you have sanded it, and you took it and you got it so that you could see the grooves that are in it, because every time I'm twisting, I'm creating a groove. Okay, so the lock prep itself fills those gaps, and whenever it fills those gaps, it hermetically seals everything so that I do not have a leak. If I have the right size connector and my lock prep is correct and it's not expired, I should never have any problems. Okay, the assembly instructions for the connectors. These are, once again, I told you that Type 00 is for refrigerators. Refrigerators. It also goes for under the counter ice maker, a standalone ice maker, a chiller, a cooler. You can all use the Vulcan LokRing. Okay. Now, I don't know how many of you guys, I'm going to tell you, I'm an old fart. Okay. I started in this business as a young kid whenever I was 18 years old. Okay. I am 64 and a half now. Okay. So I was taught from the very beginning to use the double loop method. If you look at the one on the right, that is the double loop method. Okay. I have seen the newer technicians using just the single and just using it to twist off. I don't like that method. I don't trust that method. Back whenever it was in the 80s, they even came out with something for a while, and then they found that it didn't work as well as they had claimed. But you could paint it on, and it would clean all the tubes, and you didn't have any of the the grooves that you have. Okay, so once I have cleaned my tubing, I'm going to apply the Lock Prep 65G to the tube ends. I don't do it this way. If you're going to do it correctly, I put one end at the very. I rest it on the joint. And then I drop my Lock Prep on there. Then I roll it. Then I take and shove the other end back in quickly, just at the very tip. And then I rotate it again. Like I said, I do it twice. Okay. Then I shove it all the way in and I rotate. You have to hold the connection together, and then I rotate it. I have 28 seconds before it hardens. Okay. So insert both ends of the tube. You have to push it all the way in until it stops. Okay. Rotate my LokRing connector 360 degrees to disperse the lock prep properly. Then I'm going to respect the correct curing time of the Lock Prep. I can tell you that as the weather gets colder, it does increase the time that is required. Okay. I have a home in Daytona, which is my house. I'm actually helping my mom and dad right now, but I have my home in Daytona, and it's so much nicer because nothing ever gets cold. You know, we have basically maybe 5 days of cold weather. So we don't really have a problem. Once again, once I have pushed the joint into the assembly and I have it locked in, I take my hand, I grip the joint, and I hold the connectors with my hand, like I do like this. I hold it, and then I crank my my jaws down. It'll pull those two jaws together, just like it shows you in the figure on the right. Okay, I keep tightening those down until I get this total seal right here across that you're looking at on the third little slide section there. And then the fourth is totally sealed. I double check it. I take my mirror. I've always had a mirror in my pouch so that I can check everything whenever I'm doing joints. Whenever I was doing my my solder joints, I still keep that and have a flashlight with me so that I can double check all my joints, even though it's Lock Prep, because I don't want to have any leaks. I don't want the customer to call me back, except whenever they call the boss and say, "Hey, let me tell you, this guy knew what he was doing. He was great. He was in and out of here in less than an hour." Okay. So once again, I'm going to complete the connection assembly, and it should look exactly like the one on the right. Will it look like that every single time? No. I'll tell you right now, if I have an aluminum fitting, it is more difficult to put two pieces of aluminum together than it is for 2 pieces of copper, because the aluminum is easier to bend. So we're going to respect this curing time. Let's see. No, it doesn't say. It doesn't show me the curing time. Okay. So if I need some training in the in-depth LokRing theory, if I need some practice, and you want to be certified, it's what you want. Like I said, contact any of your market managers for Encompass, and they can help you get set up for a class. And you can become certified, and you'll thank me later on. Okay. So here's just a presentation that they have. I used to have about 8 or 10 from the ones that I had done. But here's the way that it should look. Okay. So our hand assembly tool with jaws, my Lock Prep 65G, and then our samples for the LokRing. This shows you what it should look like, and then there's some samples so that you can put them together. Okay. You can get your technical customer information for the customer support. You can go to www.vulcan.com. That'll give you your catalogs, your brochures. There are videos out there. My buddy Jesse is doing a bunch of those. And then there's a couple of his counterparts that helped him out doing them. There's assembly instructions, and then there's the technical documentation. There's everything that you need right there at the www.vulcan.com. Okay, so this is the conclusion of our first presentation. Okay, so LokRing versus brazing. It's suitable for flammable refrigerants. Customer-friendly on-site service with your reduced logistics cost. Clean and fast, reliable. Our assembly is possible in a high combustible area, even with heavy foot traffic during business operations. Simple assembly without a power connection. Okay, no heavy brazing equipment that you have to lug upstairs. That used to drive me crazy because I had the oxygen acetylene torch, and of course I didn't have one of those miniature bottles to put it in there. The bottles that I carried were big, and they were very bulky, and you had to go. It was just a pain in the neck to have to carry around all that heavy brazing equipment. No brazing related quality problems. Okay, you can now join the thousands of LokRing users that are happy. And then thank you for your attention for this presentation. Okay. Here's the disclaimer that's on every single thing, any day, anything now. We're going to go back to this. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? We're almost at an hour. I'm going to try to get through these next two pretty quick. I will. Thanks, Joseph. Okay, so we're going to talk about this HMRK assembly tool. These are very short things. So this is my assembly tool. I have to maintain it. I can't just put it in. I will tell you that I got one from one of the classes that they had for LokRing that was done in Lawrenceville. And whenever I got it, I ended up the whole day before I had to clean this assembly tool. That had so much lock prep all over it because they didn't clean it. It had never been lubricated. So one of the things that I'm going to have, okay, I'm going to need some 3-in-1 oil. I'm going to need some WD-40, some acetone, some cloths. I need a couple of screwdrivers. I'm telling you, the best thing to use is a dental pick, okay, to clean all those up. You want to make sure that you have the right thing. So I use a dental pick on mine, okay. So this is my exterior lubrication points. This is what I need to use my 3-in-1 oil on. I'm going to lubricate those exterior points right there on both the inside and the outside. So I'm going to do it one way, then I'm going to flip the tool over, and I'm going to do it the second way. Okay, so if you look at this, I'm gonna open my tool up. Okay. Whenever I open it up, it has chains, just like a chain on your bicycle. Okay. But I have to lubricate that chain so that I keep it moving freely. Otherwise it hangs and it makes a mess. And so I need to apply it between the drive paw and the handle. If you look right there, that's that first one. Then I'm going to apply between the chain wheel and the handle. You can see the chain wheel right there where the tip of that 3-in-1 oil is. Then, of course, I'm going to put it on the handle and adjust the fixture in the handle. Okay. Then I'm going to apply between the handle and the adjacent handle pawl. I'm going to apply it to the drive pawl and the handle. And then if you look on the very bottom, I'm going to lubricate all of those points. One of the things is make sure that I oil the chain itself. Okay. You see this? This is nothing compared to what was on the jaws that I had. I actually, after I spent all that time on them, I actually they had some in Dallas, and I got a set from the parts house in Dallas, and just used those because I still didn't like the way that it looked. If they had taken care of these jaws, we wouldn't have had any problems. But if you look, here's what you have to do. If you look you can see the residual lock prep right there. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove any harden that I can with my dental pick. If I can't get it off with a dental pick, I'm going to use the wire brush, and I'm going to alternate between the wire brush and the dental pick. And I also can use some acetone. Okay. If the lock prep has been allowed to cure for the extended period, acetone may be used to dissolve it, like that right there says. Okay. I can actually, what I did was, whenever I got done and I got home, I actually dropped those two in a glass and filled the glass up with acetone. Let it go for about an hour, and then I took and used it, and I got it out, so it was good. Okay, so once I get done with cleaning it, I want to lubricate it with some WD-40. This WD-40 helps to not have any excess buildup. I can actually spray that before I use it if I wanted to. On everything. So this is their website. This tool is this cleaning is on the website. So go to www.vulcan.com to get this information. All of these are out there. All of these are out there, and you can actually use them. Okay. Now, here we go. Now, pre-assembly tool. This is another thing that they have. All right. That I like this. So if I have a size 3 millimeter, okay, that's the part number for it. The 5 millimeter, that's the part number. These are the part numbers. These are all at the www.vulcanlockring.com. These are all these slides are on there. Okay. So this is the best practices for the pre-assembly tool. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is the first thing I'm really needing is a micrometer. Okay. I like a digital micrometer. Okay. If I'm gonna use my digital micrometer, I can do everything that I need to do. So that will give me the correct size tubing that I need to use. Okay. It will tell me my tube size. I can select the pre-assembly tool. I can get the correct fitting. Okay. I know how to put the stack of parts together. Okay. And then I'm going to follow everything that we already did. I'm going to clean the joint. I'm going to apply a little lock prep as I'm inserting it in. I'm going to rotate it 365 degrees. One of the things that I can do is I can use the pre-assembly tool. Okay. And then I can use that to assemble the unit. Like I said, you're going to begin to close one side. So I've got the pre-assembly tool on it, and then I'm going to stop at about 2 to 3 millimeters short. Okay, then I'm going to repair it. Then I'm going to do the exact same thing. I can do it on the other side and pull those two together, and then I'm going to pull them all the way tight for the fitted connection. Okay, each side of the connection must be completed within 20 seconds to prevent lock prep for setting up. Do not apply radial torque pressure or vacuum for a minimum of 10 minutes after you complete it altogether. Okay, that's to allow the lock prep time to cure. There is a chart that is available on the lock preps on the Vulcan.com site, and it is a chart that tells you as the temperature drops, I am going to have to allow a larger curing time. Okay, so until then, have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.